You're listening to the 34th Peep Show episode of Bare Naked Bravery, and my name is Emily Ann Peterson. I am a singer-songwriter, I am a creative consultant for businesses, and I also am the host of this awesome project called Bare Naked Bravery. I am so glad that you are here. I know that there's a lot of things you could be listening to, and today, as with all Peep Show episodes, I'm going to talk a little bit about the kind of bravery that I am personally experiencing like right now and relate that to some of the questions that have come in from our community. So let's jump into, before we get to today's topic, which is basically how do you prepare to wrestle with big things? And I have my own answers, both positive and negative, or unintentional and intentional ways of wrestling with big things. But we're going to jump into that in a second. So first, I have a couple announcements. If you have been a member of the Facebook group community, just go on Facebook and search Bare Naked Bravery Community and we'll pop up. You can join if you'd like. You can also join by downloading your free Bravery bundle from barenakedbravery.com, and you'll get a link automatically sent to you in that option as well. So if you've been a member of that group, you will have noticed the last couple weeks I've been doing these weekly live streams, Ask Emily Ann live streams. And if you have a question specifically for me, you can submit that via Instagram, email, our Facebook group. Just use the hashtag Ask Emily Ann. And I either answer it in a Peep Show episode like this or in one of our weekly live stream videos, which has been really cool. This last week, we had a guest on the show, on the live stream, and it was really fun to chat a little bit. And it's kind of crazy that we can do that via technology, have like a spontaneous conversation face to face with someone, with other people watching. It's super cool. Gotta love technology. The second thing is that I'm trying out something new. Because that live stream stuff in the group has gone so well, I'm going to start doing these live stream performances weekly on my own Facebook page, Emily Ann Peterson. So if you are interested in checking that out, go ahead and like that Facebook page and you'll get notified whenever I go live, which will be, I'm probably doing it every Tuesday. We'll see. You know, as a business owner and as an artist, if you guys are a business owner and or artist, you'll recognize similarities in this. Sometimes you're just going to try something out and see if it works and see if it fits. And that's what I'm doing with live streams. I really have liked them a lot. They're very similar to this right here. Like, I don't have this scripted. Sometimes I'll have bullet points written out before I jump in. But in general, I just have like bullet points and that's all I'm going for. So sometimes that spontaneous processing out loud really has some gold nuggets in it. But in regards to performance, it's also really nice to just practice performing live. For one, that's my own reason. And then second reason is to give a glimpse into what it's like to be an artist and be rehearsing and practicing. So check those out, you guys. If you like live streams and you kind of want to get in on the roller coaster ride of what's she going to say next, because I don't know always, then jump into the Facebook group and or like my Facebook page, Emily Ann Peterson. Okay, so we talked about that. These are my bullet points. Next on the list is that I actually have room for one more marketing client. So if you are a business owner or an artist and you have an interest in getting some feedback on what it's like to be brave with your marketing and what should be the actual next step for you and your business and your career, then hit me up. My email is hi@emilyannpeterson.com and we can take things from there and see if you're a good fit or not. The marketing stuff is something that I really love to do. I love encouraging fellow artists and fellow business owners to go in the right direction and feel good about it. But I don't do that full time because I want to build my own career as an artist. So I only reserve a certain number of hours every week for this marketing coaching and marketing consulting. So if you want in on that either once or more than once, hit me up at hi@emilyannpeterson.com. Okay, enough announcements. Let's jump into this. So as most of you know, if you've been listening to the show for a while, as most of you know, I have been writing a book. And the book started before this podcast started. I started writing this book and then got curious about what other people thought about bravery, not just what I thought and understood about bravery. And that curiosity turned into conversations, and those conversations turned into this podcast. So that's a little bit of the backstory. But since I started the podcast, a lot of my spare time, like creation time, has been spent on making this podcast, which is wonderful. And I love it. And I don't want to stop. However, that means that the book that I was working on also got put on hold, and a couple other things got put on hold too. But, drum roll please, I'm working on the book this next month, and I'm really excited about it because I haven't actually cracked it open or reread it in several months, and that new, fresh set of eyes is really exciting to me. But something happened last weekend, and I just got, it wasn't quite, because I've struggled with depression before, and you can't kick it, and it just sucks. It's just all over awful. However, this past weekend was a different kind of depression, and it makes me wonder how often I've actually experienced it previously. There was something about it that just felt a little bit different. And halfway through it took like 3 days. I had to like take a half day and then take the next day off, and then spend a whole day just vegging on BBC dramas and Call the Midwife and crime shows and all that kind of stuff. Just completely vegging out, which I think, first of all, I'm not normally a TV person. I don't watch a lot of TV regularly, but occasionally I do get these, like, something inside me goes, take a freaking break. Like, just don't do anything. And so I think that's kind of what happened this past weekend. But I also know halfway through it occurred to me that, whoa, I think this is actually book related. I think this is probably my body going, you're about to do some really hard wrestling with some truth and some really difficult stories that you don't love to dive super deep into, but that you need to in order to tell this story through this book. And I think it was actually my body prepping for a big, huge season of wrestling, a month of wrestling, because I set aside next month, all of October, to revise and edit the book one last time. And release dates will be announced soon, but we got to revise the book first before we can nail down exact release dates. So back to this weekend, there was something so palpable in that need for rest. It was like I couldn't shake the fuzzy brain, but I also could see, or I knew and had faith that through the fuzzy, foggy brain, on the other side was this intention and this desire to get something done. But I also knew that my timeline wasn't needing me to push through that foggy brain and do something and force something, you know? So I just called it and said, okay, let's take a half day, take another day, let's relax, let's chill, and then let's jump back in. So that is something that is new to me, to give myself, I would say new within the last 5 years. One of the side effects of this essential tremor in my right hand, which was completely life-altering, one of the things that has happened with this tremor is that when I'm stressed, the hand tremor gets really bad. So I have this physical reminder always reminding me, take it easy, don't stress out too much, keep a chill vibe, man, keep it chill. And so I have since my diagnosis, have slowly, it's been such a slow journey to teach myself how to do this, but listen to my brain and listen to my body and listen to my emotions tell me what I need to do. And that's part intuition, right? You know, like listening to your internal guidance system that's all intuition. And we need that in order to be brave, because there are these moments when we're being brave and we're being improvisational within our surroundings and our context and our environment, where we actually do need to drop in really deep and ask ourselves, what is it that you need to do right now? And it's tricky because, like when I've first started teaching myself to do this and exploring and getting curious with this kind of, what's it like to actually take a break? It was tricky because when you're self-employed or when you're working for yourself or when you have a lot of autonomy in your job, it can be tricky to unplug yourself from the obligation of needing to go the whole time, and to give yourself enough white space in your calendar or unplanned time where you just leave it unplanned and you don't plan to do anything really. That was a new thing for me. And it can be tricky when you jump into that, pulling the plug or taking a break, it can be really tricky to unplug your brain from the habit of thinking that you need to be doing something or crossing something off a list or whatever. So as somebody who is still learning how to do this, and this is all the case with Bravery and with putting yourself out there and all of this, I might be one step ahead of you in my experience, and you might be one step ahead of me, which is why it's so important that we have a community and why we lean on each other and why we put our own bravery and our own skills out there, because other people need that. They really do. I needed a good talking to however many years ago from a fellow entrepreneur friend to kind of just say, listen, it's really tricky to unplug your brain when you take a day off, but you have to do it. You have to do it, and you have to practice doing it as well. So yeah, it's taken a while to get to that point where I can unplug. And honestly, this last weekend wasn't ideal because it took me a whole half a day to realize, oh, I need a couple days off. Like I need to take a real weekend and make this happen. So I did. And I think when you get into that, like a dark, groovy place, a dark groove, I should say, not like, yeah, man, this is a great groove, but like a groove in the pavement that can feel a little darker or a little more gritty than normal. It's not the same lubricated, woo, here we go. I think it's really important to celebrate the harmony and the balance and the ebb and the flow of those textures in your life. I think that there's not always an up and a down. I think at least in my experience, it's been more like a smooth texture versus a gritty texture. And some seasons of life have a little bit more grit and require a little bit more grit from yourself. Whereas some are really smooth sailing and it's really easy to cross off things off of your list and you're feeling super clear-headed about everything. But honestly, that clarity, that like, yeah, this feels good, that kind of clarity doesn't feel so good. I mean, it wouldn't feel so good if we didn't have these seasons of, oh, I have to put effort into this. So this is part pep talk towards myself and part pep talk to you, that if you are going through a gritty season or you're feeling like you've hit that like bump in the road or a groove in the road that's not necessarily pulling you in the right direction, it's okay to take things a little slower and adjust your expectations that your own effort is gonna might get you a little less further than you had thought. But it all works out in the end in that especially if you're tuned into what it is that you need to do as opposed to what is being expected of you, even if that expectation is self-imposed, it's really great to just give yourself that break. So the other element of this bravery that I'm experiencing this week is, I got halfway through this like little couple days off and realized, oh, I actually don't think that yes, I needed a couple days off, but I actually think my body knew that I had previously set a schedule of rewriting this book or revising this book starting in October. And I think my body was like, hey, if you're going to do that, you need to take a couple days off before. So my brain got fuzzy. I just needed, you kind of wind down. And I'm just really excited that I was able to listen to my body tell me to do that. And then the next step was listen to my body tell me why I needed to do that. This book that I'm writing is filled, like I said, it's filled with a lot of stories that I don't dive all the way into a lot. I talk really openly about the fact that I am an eating disorder survivor and that I have had a big career change due to a health diagnosis. And, I'm a singer-songwriter, so I'm on stage a lot and I'm talking about bravery. But in order to write a book like the one that I want to write and put out there, it's going to require me to go way deep and not just talk about the subjects, but talk through the subjects, if you catch my drift. So that work, that wrestling that I'm about to jump into it's going to be exhausting, and I'm going to have a little extra self-care and sensitivity to my own intuition telling me what I need to do and how I need to execute on this plan of getting good, juicy creativity stuff out there into the world. So I encourage you guys to do the same thing. If you can build and hone and sharpen that skill of listening to, yes, what it is that you need to do, but why, because that's like one extra layer deeper. Yes, you might need to take a couple days off, but do you know why? Do you know exactly why you need to take a couple days off? Is it because you're planning a wedding and that's really exhausting and you haven't acknowledged how exhausting that is? Do you need to take a couple days off because, unbeknownst to you until now, whatever employee who sits next to you at the next cubicle over, they're really draining on you emotionally and you need an emotional break? And knowing that extra why will really help bridge the gap when you need to take that extra day off or week off or month off. I've even taken months off. So yeah, that's this week's Bravery, this week's Peep Show episode. I want to celebrate the fact that we have these new beginnings, and sometimes these like restful seasons, or the restful messy middle, as Sherry, one of our community members, calls it, the messy middle. I think they can actually be punctuations on a season closing and an opening or a commencement for a new season or a new cycle happening. And that's probably what happened this past week. Digging really super deep into it and understanding exactly why might not be worth it. There's part of it is like, maybe it's a hormonal thing for me this past weekend. Maybe it was foods that I was eating. Those are all very good possibilities, but all those possibilities are factors in every element of your life. So I encourage you to look holistically at these seasons where you need to take a break, and also where you're just about ready to do something brave. Because if you can take care of yourself just before, let's use a war metaphor. If you take care of yourself before a battle and you feed yourself and get a good night of rest, then that battle won't be so exhausting. It won't be so intimidating, and your enemies won't seem so scary if you're already dragged through the dirt before the battle even begins. That can be a really tricky way to do life. And I've been there. I've totally been there. So this is speaking from experience that, if you can lean into your intuition about some of the self-care that you need to give yourself, that's redundant, but you get what I'm saying. If you can get really intuitive about some of that self-care that's required before a battle, then it makes everything go a lot better. It's kind of like carb loading before you go on a really long run, I've dated guys and have friends who are big runners, and the night before a big run, they have like a whole entire pizza full of carbs because they need that carb, they need that nutrition for the run. They know that it's coming. They've made a decision that it's going to be coming. They've made a decision to step into that difficult thing or that difficult experience. And they know that that difficult experience will be less difficult if they can feed themselves the right way and rest the right way. So nutrition and rest, Very important, both holistically and metaphorically and literally and all of that jazz. So that is this week's Peep Show episode. As a reminder, I just want to thank you for being a member of the community and being a member of the Bare Naked Bravery awesomeness. If you are not yet a member of the Facebook group, then jump on in and download your Bravery bundle, and you can get an invite to join the Facebook group by going to barenakedbravery.com and download that Bravery bundle with a worksheet and a couple free songs and all sorts of good things like that. Again, if you are interested in getting some Bravery focused marketing or career consulting, I have room for one more client this month. So hit me up, send me an email at hi@emilyannpeterson.com. So hi@emilyannpeterson.com, and we can chat more about it. Let's see here. I think that's it. Okay. So with that, I want you to know that next week we've got a really cool guest, and I'm so excited to share it with you. But in the meantime, please know that we really do need you to be brave. We really do need you to be vulnerable and intuitive and imaginative and improvisational, because we really do need your bare naked bravery.